But let's talk about your new book, Chastity, Reconciliation of the Senses. Can you say at the outset that this is not a work of apologetics for the church's teaching on chastity per se? It's not exactly a catechesis, or is that incorrect? How would you characterize the project of the book?
Well, I think I say in the introduction that my purpose is primarily a semantic purpose, which is um, the purpose of unwrapping the sense of the word, because it is a
Hmm.
word which I think has become very limited and sounding very limiting in our modern languages, and English isn't the only one. Um, and I think when you mention the word chastity, and people freeze because they think you're about to be speaking only about mortification and self-denial, and the the ideal of the chaste person doesn't really seem an ideal at all. Chastity
Hmm.
seems to be spelling a withered heart and a frozen body, and lots of prejudices and fears, and the stereotypical fantastical image of the chaste person is of a person who's the opposite of free. And I think I myself shared that prejudice and that presupposition for quite a bit. And it was only really when I entered the monastery that I was forced to rethink that. I mean, chastity it had never been a word that had preoccupied me particularly, or interested me, or attracted me. But when I started engaging with and trying to live by the rule of St. Benedict, I had to take on board the teaching of St. Benedict on chastity, which is extremely concise in that he says what he has to say about chastity in 2 words
Hmm.
in the great 4th chapter of the rule, The Instruments for Good Works. And what he says is quite simply, castitatem amare, let them love chastity.
Hmm.
And I thought, love chastity? What on earth is lovable about it?
Hmm.
So it was in an attempt to try and understand St. Benedict's teaching that I started looking into the history and deep meaning of the word, and then made this discovery, which I account for in the book, that in antiquity and in the late antiquity in which St. Benedict wrote the Holy Rule, chastity wasn't primarily a term connected with sexual morality. It had a much more global remit. And in ancient Latin, the noun castitas is sometimes used as a synonym of integritas. So to be chaste is to live with integrity. To become chaste isn't a matter of cutting bits of your sensibility off, but
Hmm.
it's a matter of integrating the various dimensions that make up your being and your sensibility into a harmonious and an elegant whole. And once I started realizing that, the terms suddenly became much more interesting. And when I
Hmm.
started looking into the history of usage, etc., um, I began to understand how it could really be a lovable and a desirable virtue. And it's that's really the sort of discovery that I wanted to share in writing this book.
What are some of the dangers of having a purely negative view of chastity as of something simply avoiding sin or avoiding, some kind of pollution or something like that?
Well, I mean, on the whole, wouldn't you say that counsels that are put before us as simply negative, without an intrinsic attraction, um, don't really mobilize our our deepest energies? Something which is merely a prohibition is something
Hmm.
we avoid, whereas the Christian life is an aspirational state of being. This is constantly evidenced in the gospel, this call precisely to freedom, to joy, to maturity, to communion. Um, Christianity is an ideal to strive towards. It's not simply an account of pitfalls to avoid or to steer clear of. And so I think it's always crucial in the Christian life, and it's worth reflecting on, not least now as we're about to enter Advent, that the Christian life is an itinerary and it's a movement towards something and towards someone.